Welcome to Accelerated Engineering. My name is John, and this is the video encyclopedia entry for the sin function. Please pardon the birds who are talking in the background. The sine function accepts an input assumed to be in radians and outputs the sine of that input angle. And the sine, of course, is the ratio of the opposite side of the angle over the hypotenuse of that angle within a right triangle. I've just generated a small graph to show the output of the sine function, assuming a value in degrees in column A, and then having converted that value to radians and taken the sine of the appropriate angle in column B. You can see that the sine output ranges between +1 and -1, depending on the input angle. The maximum value that this function can accept will be shown in this little calculator that I've built. This gives 10 to the power of the input integer, or input number, I guess it doesn't have to be an integer, and the negative of the same number. So I get a very large positive and a very large negative number easily. And then takes the sine of that number and outputs the value here. Notice that I did not convert this from assumed degrees into assumed radians. I just assumed that this large value is in fact in radians. Somewhere between 10 to the power of 8 and 10 to the power of 9, this function fails and is not able to output a value appropriate, or it doesn't calculate the input well. But it works at least up to numbers in the range of the hundreds of millions. For very small numbers, by raising this to a negative integer, it just gives very small numbers. Now, because the sine of numbers approaching 0 approaches the number input, it's one of those limits, I should be able to give an incredibly small number approaching the minimum value that Excel is able to represent, which is 1 times 10 to the negative 308. Let's go 307. And basically that's the output value as well. So it's still accurate, or still functional up to and approaching 0. And that's some of the limits of that. Related functions to the sine function would be, of course, the cosine function, the tangent function, the other chunks of, or the other trig functions for this triangle. And then if you really wanted to get crazy, there's the cosecant function, which is 1 divided by the sine of x. And that concludes the video encyclopedia entry for the sine function. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like and subscribe.